There we go. So my name is Ebbe Korsgaard. I'm the CEO of this small company in Denmark called Beyond Coffee. Small means that we are currently 6 people working here. And what we do is that we collect organic coffee grounds all around Copenhagen, and we turn it into gourmet mushrooms. Specifically, the oyster mushroom, which is what you see here on the picture. This is our raw material. We collect 4 tons every month of this. You all know it from your daily coffee routines. There are massive amounts of this. Actually, I don't have a number of how much there is in Copenhagen, for example, but I can tell you there is plenty. We only collect a little bit of this, so there's a big potential to utilize this more. When you brew a cup of coffee, only 0.2% of the actual coffee bean ends up in the cup of coffee that you drink. That means that 99.8% goes into the bin. I mean, that's just absurd. That's completely crazy. If you think about how coffee is cultivated, so you have some farmers going around in the mountains and picking these berries and removing the fruit from the berry, and then they ship these beans to our part of the world, and we roast it and process and package it, and it then ends up at the café, and then we just throw it out. That's completely crazy. And there's a huge potential then to utilize this, of course. It's very nutritious still, the coffee grounds. Another thing that makes it very good for cultivating mushrooms is that you have already grinded it up. So you would normally need to do that, to grind it up for the mushroom to digest it. But more importantly, it has also been pasteurized. So if you think about it, when you brew coffee, you essentially pasteurize the coffee bean. Because you get some hot water through it one way or another, no matter which method you use, maybe with the exception of cold brew, that is becoming popular as well. And that's perfect for mushroom growing, because then you don't have anything else growing there. You don't have any molds. So normally a normal mushroom producer would steam pasteurize the substrate that they would use to grow mushrooms. Usually you do that for 24 hours. So that's a lot of energy, a lot of steam, and we are able to just skip that part if we collect the coffee fresh, and that's how we run the business. So this is what it looks like. We are container-based. That means we use old shipping containers. We have 6 containers in operation right now in Copenhagen. We actually like to say that we upcycle a waste product from the shipping industry and turn it into a factory that can upcycle food waste. These containers are old refrigerating containers. So you know, the ones that have transported your bananas. After a certain use of the containers, the refrigerating unit breaks down, and then you repair it, and it breaks down again, and you repair it once more. And at some point, it's not cost effective to repair it anymore. So these containers, they just end up in different harbors around the world as a waste product from this industry. But it's a very, very good building block to do actually all kind of food projects, because the containers are insulated, and they also, as you can see, have like relatively smooth surfaces, so you can just like clean it down with water and soap. So good for all kind of culinary projects. Anyways, this is the first room, the first container that the coffee comes into. So what we do is we collect the coffee fresh, we mix it with the mycelium, it's called. So that's the mushroom seeds. Some people call it spores. That's technically incorrect. So we call it mycelium. We put it into the bags and put it in this container where there's normally no light, actually. The light is only on to take the picture. And you can see, does this work? Ooh. You can see here how you can see some coffee there, but you can also see some white stuff. The white stuff is the mushroom that is growing on the coffee and producing enzymes that can break down the fibers in the coffee grounds and turn it into mushrooms. After approximately 3 weeks in this container, we move it to another container. And in the other container, we have a more moist environment. So we sprinkle some water on the floor, and we have some fresh air coming in, and we cut holes in the bags, and we have some LED lighting. And all of that combined makes the mushroom think that now it's the time of the year where it wants to make the actual mushrooms. So we call it the summer container and the fall container. And this is the fall container where the mushrooms grow out. We then pick them directly in the containers, package it, and ship it off to restaurants directly, mostly in Copenhagen, where we are based. Actually, fun fact, these crates here, you see, anyone who has worked in the kitchen know these crates. That's what you usually ship mushrooms in. There are around 240 grams of plastic in one of these crates. And the usual way is that you buy mushrooms from Poland or another Baltic country. You use the mushrooms and you throw out this crate, because you cannot send it back. It doesn't make sense to drive back with a truck to Poland only with this plastic to reuse it. So because the producer of the mushrooms are so far away from the consumers, you have to waste a lot of plastic. Actually, 10% of the weight of a normal mushroom is plastic waste just in this process, because you have 2.5 kilos of mushrooms in one crate. What we do is we take the mushrooms directly to the chefs, and they're very happy to get the mushrooms, as you can see. And so why are they happy? They're happy because this product is extremely fresh. It's more fresh than any other mushroom they can buy. Usually mushrooms are produced not in Denmark, so are shipped in. And as you know, mushrooms, they don't stay fresh very long, so there's a big quality difference. Of course, they also appreciate the fact that it's organic. We are certified organic in our farm. They also appreciate that it's made from local waste, of course. So therefore, we sell mostly to restaurants that are, as Matt would say, responsible. I like that word. Also Matt buys some of our mushrooms that we produce. The picture I brought to you, though, is from another place in Copenhagen called Basque or Beast. It's an organic pizzeria/charcuterie place. They've bought our mushrooms since day one. And that means 3 years now. They had the mushrooms on the menu. But we, of course, have a long list of restaurants that we supply, because people like to change the menu. This is our current setup. So you can see here we have like central Copenhagen and then greater Copenhagen going around here. So we are quite central without being, downtown Copenhagen. We're able to have a production so central in Copenhagen because we use the containers. So we can stack them in places that are temporarily available. So, for example, this space here, they will build some student housing in a few years. So we can stay there until then. And we can easily find a new spot, when they build here. We just put them in another spot where they have plans to build in a few years. So that's the cool thing about the containers, that you can stay pretty urban, actually all the time, just by moving them around. Many people think we collect coffee from all the cafes and stuff like this, but actually we try to avoid cafes and restaurants. We rather collect from canteens, big canteens and big office buildings, where you have, instead of, Matt showed us this little bucket of coffee, we like to pick up 100 kilos of coffee at a time. That's a lot easier. Makes more sense also on how much fuel you use to collect this, of course. Also, you have less people to train, so you have only a handful of people that need to know, okay, we recycle the coffee. You have to treat it hygienically because it's pasteurized, and we use that property, so to say. In a cafe, you have probably 20, 30 different people working and super busy, don't have time to care about the coffee collection. Besides having the farms, we also have a little shop in Copenhagen. And why do we have that? We have that, first actually it was to get an office space, because it's not very nice to do the office work in a wet container, as you can imagine. But now it has turned into kind of a concept store, you can say, but also a place where we sell a lot of consumer products to utilize your own coffee. So we sell these as well. These are coffee cups made of coffee grounds. We don't produce them ourselves. And I believe you have some here, maybe? Yeah? Can we see them today? Yeah. But mostly we sell products like this. This is a home grow kit. So this is basically kind of a brick-sized coffee grounds, which we have already put the mycelium into. So you just need to rip it open and spray water, and you can grow your own mushrooms at home. So that's the edition where we did the work. We also sell this. This is where you can use your own coffee. And this is the product I love the most of these two. These are our buckets made of recycled plastic. When you buy it, you get a little bag of mycelium. So essentially, you add a little bit of coffee grounds into the bottom and the mycelium, and then it starts to grow. And you just add your coffee as you brew it at home, and then you grow your own mushrooms. And I think that's cool because we can never collect coffee grounds from all the small houses. That just logistically doesn't make sense. That's partly also why we developed this product. So that's more for businesses. This is, we call it the mushroom display. And essentially we simulate the two containers. So inside the box here, we simulate the first container, where you have no light, you have no ventilation. And up here, we simulate the fall, because we have some living moss in the bottom, with some water below, and it gives a high humidity. So what this product does is that an office can, or a restaurant or canteen can buy it, and then they can grow their own mushrooms in their office space. Basically, by using the same buckets, we supply the mycelium then, and then you just fill a bucket with coffee grounds and mycelium, you stack it in here. 3 weeks later, you take it up, and you have mushrooms growing out in your canteen or wherever you put it. Of course, you can also have us coming by to hang a bag, and that's a little bit more easy, less work. It makes sense, of course, for people who anyways buys our mushrooms, or where we collect the coffee. So, at the end here, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we do with our waste, which of course is not waste, it's a valuable resource. So the bags that we harvest the mushrooms from, we harvest mushrooms twice from one bag. And after that, we take it out in the compost. Right now, it's picked up by local organic farmers who uses this as a fertilizer, which is, of course, good. But we thought maybe you can use it for something better, something more high-end in the value chain. And that's why we collaborated with the Danish Technical University. And that's this researcher here. That's a PhD student, and we have a professor here who helped us with this project. The project was to try to increase the amount of protein in the substrate and then basically eat the substrate. So what happens, chemical-wise, as I told you, the mycelium extracts enzymes, breaks down the fibers of the coffee, which we cannot digest, and turn it into protein. So we tested how much protein is in this, this substrate, and we figured it's not enough. We need more protein. So what we did was we basically broke apart the mycelium, gave it some water, and then let it grow one more time. Because when you do that, you get a lot of surface area, and on the surface area, the mycelium produces like this thick layer of hyphae, it's called. That's the structure of the mycelium. And those hyphae are rich in protein. So actually now we reach the point where we just need to upscale this and work a little bit with the taste. And actually we're working together with MS on that taste part and how can you use this product in various foods. And that's it. And you can go to our website and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, thank you.
Yo creo que tenemos tiempo para preguntas, ¿no? ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Yo.
Thank you. And the mushrooms tastes like coffee?
That's a very common question. I think that's the most common question, except for the magic mushroom joke. But actually, no, they don't. They don't taste like coffee. And that's because a fungi works different than a plant. So, it's a different kingdom and works in a different way. A plant would take directly different, basically the terroir idea, that you have the taste from the soil that goes into the plant. What the mushroom does is that it breaks down the fibers of the coffee grounds into sugars, which it then eats. So you don't have that direct kind of extraction of flavor that goes into the mushroom. That's at least what professors tells us. Of course, there are some chefs that tell me, oh, it tastes like coffee, and then mostly I just smile and say, yeah, it tastes like coffee. But I don't taste it personally.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you, so the substrate is just literally just coffee, that's it?
Yes.
You don't add anything else?
Well, we add the mycelium.
Oh, of course,
mushroom,
you need the mycelium, but that's it, just coffee. Oh, okay, thank you.
Have you tried to grow chicken of the woods?
No, we haven't.
Do you think it's possible?
It's possible to grow it, yes, but not on coffee grounds. So obviously, we've done a lot of research on what other species you could grow on coffee grounds, because, we collected, and it would be nice to, offer different kinds. But actually, you can only grow oyster mushrooms on coffee. You can also grow shiitake, but it's very difficult, and you would need to process it a lot more. So this pasteurization part, you would need to add that, and also you need to compress it. So we actually like to stick to the oyster mushroom, because in that way we can quite easily upscale this project and recycle more coffee grounds, rather than starting to offer a lot of novel mushrooms. But you can grow a lot of those, gourmet mushrooms that people crave. For example, chicken of the woods, hen of the woods as well. And you can just buy a good mushroom book, and it tells you how to do it.
Hello, thank you very much for coming. And I was wondering, what's the difference in price between conventional mushrooms and the ones that you're producing?
Yeah, good question. Our mushroom is almost twice as expensive as the normal commercial mushroom. But actually we have no issues with selling them because the quality is so much better. And of course there's also the whole story and sustainability aspect of it. But it's our issue is to collect enough coffee of a good quality to produce more mushrooms. It's not to sell the mushrooms, actually, despite the price being quite high.
do you think there is any way to reduce the cost?
Of course. You know, if we right now we do half a ton a month, and if we had a production where we did, 5 times that amount, of course it would be a lot cheaper. It's a matter of scale.
Okay, last question.
Are you planning to open in other countries?
I guess you're always planning that, but not in the near future. Probably, the most obvious place to go would be to Sweden.
Colombia?
Actually, there are some people doing something similar in Colombia, but out in the rainforest. I can't remember the name.
Okay, one question, but can you talk a little bit about the logistics of this? Because we were talking also in the other conversations, also this kind of use of waste has a lot to do with logistics. You say you only go to big buildings with a lot of coffee rounds. Can you?
Yeah, of course. So I can just tell you exactly how we do it. We have some 20-liter food-grade plastic boxes, and we go around twice a week with them and supply them to the places we pick from. Right now we pick from 10 places. So we have a driver basically that every Wednesday and Friday he goes around, he gives a clean bucket or 10 or 20 clean buckets, and he takes the full with him. We make sure that when they collect the coffee out at the place, that they put it in the fridge the same evening. So when they go around to collect coffee from all the machines in the afternoon, they take that and they roll it down to the big fridge where they store their food. And then we just come and we pick it from there directly and get it in-house and mix it with the mycelium. And that way we make sure that it's fresh and you don't have any other fungi growing there.
Okay, thank you very much, Ebbe.